Hey guys, this is Fergal from PokerVIP. Welcome back to part 2 of our 20 NL cash game series over on Guts Poker. What a time to come in. For anyone who thinks that I rig the videos to that I just wait for a fun hand to start off with, I actually, you can see at the end of the very last video I opened that pocket eights hand, so that's not the case at all. I never sort of wait until I have a hand or anything like that to record a video. Once I got my tables up and running, I just launch straight in. I'm never. Like I think it's really important when you're watching poker to understand that it's not all big pots and fun pots. It's all a lot of it is just grinding it out, waiting for hands, picking up small pots, duck and diving here and there. So it's important for strategy videos to show that element as well. Like I never like watching any sort of heavily edited strategy videos because it's usually edited just so you see like the particularly larger pots and that sort of thing. But it is important that you're playing the smaller pots well as well. So we flop the world here for the most part. I mean, obviously it's not the Stone Cold Nutter Butters or anything close to it, but we're pretty happy. And we're just going to be betting here. Hopefully someone has a hand like 10 Jack, which would be amazing. Nobody had 10 Jack, eh? Well, that's okay. So anyway, let's just a quick chat about what we are going to be doing with this video. So similar to the last video, we're going to be playing 2 tables. We're going to be playing 20 NL throughout. The last half hour that we've seen was the build up to this. So far this session we're up buy-in over here. We lost a buy-in over here when we got a flush draw in with an overcard versus an overpair. So we lost that flip. So overall we're about even for this current session. We are up probably ever so slightly. Yeah, we're up like not enough to make it worth saying. It's like up less than a couple of euro anyway. So we'll see if we can make some dents into that and make some progress. Last session got off to a really fun start. We won our buy-in quite quickly, and then we got towards the end we lost the sad flush draw flip. Alright, we're gonna call here with the eights. Hopefully no one puts in the squeeze behind, and hopefully we flop quads. The dream. We don't flop quads, but we will take this. We can still potentially turn quads. That'd be kind of cool. Not amazing that he checks here, but we're in a spot here where there's a decent chunk of turns that we don't want to see, so we're just going to be betting here. I think he's going to be check folding a decent chunk, but the problem is when he checks, if we check back, like the hands that he's checked, the hands that he's just going to check fold to a bet here, it's going to be very difficult to get any sort of substantial amount of money in the pot anyway. So if he is ever kind of pot controlling a hand like say ace-5 for example, or something like ace-5 suited, that sort of thing, which could potentially make sense, then we want to be making sure that we're building the pot as early as possible and putting him in the tough spots and allowing him to make the bigger mistakes on later streets. If he has a hand like, king, queen, it's going to be pretty tricky to get much money out of him anyway with the ace on board. He can turn a pair, he can turn a gut shot, but it's unlikely that he's going to be calling multiple streets of those kinds of hands unless he improves to 2 pair trips or something like that, which is pretty unlikely. So in general, in that sort of spot, even though I am expecting a check fold a decent chunk, especially as I said, when there are a decent amount of bad turns as well for us, put 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush on the board, stuff like that, which they're not a disaster, but we're keen to start building the pot sooner rather than later if he does have a hand like the raggedy ace x that elects a pot control basically. We're going to check this board. This is a pretty bad board all around, even with our gut shot. We do have the backdoor flush draw as well, which is kind of cool. I was hoping it would just go check. We are not going to just check fold it. I was hoping just to see a free turn though. Would have been a lot nicer. And we're going to go for the check raise here. Spicy. We're just going to rip it in here and hope he has like the 10 of hearts. Wow, that was not a hand I was expecting to see very often. So this player is a fun player. He's kind of cool. We hope he buys back in, and he just leaves immediately. That's kind of sad. Bizarre line from him, like a really bizarre line. I would have thought that the check raise on the turn would have definitely folded that hand out, but apparently not. And I mean, I guess if you're calling the check raise on the turn, I guess you kind of have to go with your hand, right? It's that was a pretty wild one though. That was a fun one. That was a fun one. To explain kind of, I don't think I explained my thought process for the check raise very well. When he elects to check back, I just didn't envision him having tons of 10x. Like, I mean, obviously he can be checking back some 10s, but when he bet there, rather, I would expect him to be checking back his 10s there a decent chunk, because like that board, it just hits a really wide range reasonably hard. So even when I do check, it's not like I'm just going to be check folding all the time or anything close to it. So if he has like a decent draw, I would expect him just to check back. Now he can have like, especially because a lot of his 10x will have like kind of reasonable-ish showdown as well, like hands like 10 jack and stuff like that have like hands that he doesn't want to be building a massive pot with, but hands that have, you know, decent showdown against a lot of my range as well. So when he bet the flop, I just didn't expect him to have tons of 10x. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm happy enough with my assessment. If he's calling bottom pair and stuff like that, then my check raise is terrible, because like I was expecting him to put him in the cage with like a ton of his types, like the types kind of random kind of hands he can show up with, and if he can like show up with kind of raggedy pairs and stuff like that there, then my check raise ain't very good. But it just seems pretty wild that he wants to call down there with such a weak flush as played. But his turn is what really gets me. His turn play really gets me. But hey, we'll take it. So we're back up a buy-in-ish. We're just shy of a buy-in. We are like almost at a buy-in here. We're like €2 away from a buy-in here. So we will take it. We will be opening the ace and the 8. And folding the 6 and the 4. And we'll be folding the deuce and the 5 as well. So this dude's sitting out, so we are acting on the button. And this guy goes ahead and folds. Let's raise it up. We're going to check back our ace high here. We pick up not an amazing good shot, but it's a good shot nonetheless. Ace high is showdown though, so we're just going to take it, and it is good enough. Nice. 6-7 suited, we will let go from this position. And a snap folds all around. A7 from mid position. I say mid position, we're not under the gun because this dude's sitting 8, so we're only 5 max, so I call it mid position. It's going to be a fold. 9 jack suited though, we will look to bring it in. Everyone's full stack behind us, which is quite nice. We don't like if you're at a table with a few short stacks, playing this kind of hand is a lot worse. But when everyone's full stacked, it's a much more attractive proposition. 9-4 suited, we will be defending here, assuming this player does not make it a stupid size. We flop the flush draw, we have some backdoor straight potential as well, all fun things. In this dynamic here, I bet a lot when check 2 blind versus blind. Having the flush draw is just gravy to go along with it. But I find players, they'll open reasonably wide, blind versus blind, and then just check give up tons of flops where they shouldn't be. So I would be betting there a high frequency without the flush draw as well. But just because it's just a nice auto profit spot where people like I find that specific dynamic, people just play incredibly poorly. They open, like a lot of people get that you should be opening quite wide there, but they just don't follow through with the bet on the flop or turn or anything like that. They're just like, oh, I've opened, I got called, I'm gonna check give up now, and they do it like a lot. So it's just it's a spot that I take advantage of a lot of people on. But now my secret's out. King 6 here, definitely a showdown. We definitely have showdown. Really hope he didn't just like bluff ace 5 or something like that. If he bets again, we will give him credit for an 8. Like he's repping just an 8 and an 8 only. That's it. Yeah, we're gonna let him go. But yeah, basically when he checks back the turn, when he checks back flop and he starts betting that turn, like he's repping specifically an 8, or maybe a slow played like full house, like a turn full house or something like that. But that's pretty unlikely. Through 9s, I assume, with 3-bet free, so it's only whatever the last, I think, was like 8-9-3, I think, so you can have like pocket 3s, I guess. But yeah, when you look really silly there, if he just checks back to the turn and it turns out like he was just like bluffing like ace 5 or something like that, it's really annoying when that happens. Ace-5 suited, we will be bringing this in for an open. Pocket 2s, if it's folded to us, we will open. Decent chance we will defend it on our button, though, if it's raised before us. Again, assuming no outrageous sizings or anything close to it. Okay, let's call and see a flop. Not the flop we were hoping for. It's definitely not the 2, 3, 4 of clubs. Pretty gin turn here for us on the right table, obviously. We're going to go ahead and raise this up. If we've run ourselves into a flush, then we are super sad. But he can have hands that he wants to call here with, so that we beat, so we're happy enough with that. Problem is, he can also potentially have like 7s and stuff like that, but I mean, hey, if he has 7s, he's going to win a decent pot from us. We take that one down pretty quickly. I'm guessing he just had the naked flush draw. 10 jack offsuit, we're going to fold. Actually, no, sorry, we're not. I misread the positions there. We will be opening him for this position. Always worth double checking. For some reason I just read this as us being under the gun. I don't understand why. Sometimes that happens though when you're multi-tabling. You just do silly things sometimes. Your brain just stops working just ever so slightly. 10 jack, okay, we're gonna let this go now when it is open for us. Not really a hand I want to use as a 3-bet bluff. Definitely not a hand I want to flat call, even in position here. The suited variety would play a lot better. We would probably flat the suited variety, but offsuit, it's just not going to play well enough here to want to call an early position open from mid position. And there was a 3-bet and a fold. 8 jack offsuit, just going to let this one go as well. 8-5 suited though, we will probably play. We'll see how the action goes before us. As always, every single hand you all can't definitively say what you're going to do until you see what goes on before, because you just see people do crazy things that you can't account for. It's like open jamming. Now, do we want to 3-bet? Yes, we do. Plays fine as a flat, but we'll be better as a 3-bet. That fold equity, it just accounts for so much of your value in those kinds of hands, rather than just relying on flopping something fun. Suited, like if they're directly connected, I'd be much more inclined to just flat, but especially like, you know, when you reach the 2-gapper sort of territory, utilizing fold equity that you have versus mid position opens, or late position opens should I say, is pretty cool. Deuce 5 on the button. We open our button extremely wide, but we don't go quite that wide. That would be a little bit crazy. A little bit wild. 10-7 suited from the cutoff though. Let's bring it in. This player hasn't struck me as particularly amazing, so we are happy enough to potentially play big pots against him. This guy ruining all of our fun. So much of poker is just contingent on it folding around you. Yeah, those kinds of hands at least anyway. It's pretty difficult to play them profitably when there is an open before you. But you can play them pretty well when you are the one to open. There's just so much value in being that first person in the door. This would have been a fun flop for us over here. And this would also be a fun flop for this hand. We would take either or. Carbon copy flop, please. And we'll take the pre-flop win as well. That is not a disaster. Six nine suited, definitely defending. Whether we want to squeeze or not, this player he strikes me as someone who's a little bit stickier, so I'm less inclined to start squeezing these kinds of hands because I feel we have less fold equity against him. And multi-way, we're happy enough to see a cheap flop multi-way. So we have some backdoors. We have an 8 is a great card for us. A heart is a good card for us. A 6 or 9 is a great card for us. So let's go ahead and see a turn. 10 is a fine card for us. Not amazing, but it's not a disaster either. We do pick up a gut shot. And it should slow him down with his, like, you know, Ace-7 type hands. Can we bluff off a hand like Ace-7 now? Maybe. Do we have enough showdown just to take? Maybe. We are going to elect for the check line and lose a decent chunk of the time, definitely, but when it gets to the river and the pot's kind of small, I find just players tend to just flick it in a decent chunk anyway, and yeah, we take it down anyway. Like, if he just has the 7, he might just flick in the call anyway. So I don't. It's not a hand I want to start betting absolutely massive with, like to fold to make sure that we feel like I don't want to start over betting there or anything dumb like that. So while I do expect to lose there a reasonable percentage, we do win a reasonable percentage as well. And as I said, I'm not convinced that our bluffs get through enough to want to go ahead and make that. Kind of surprised he didn't try to bluff though after we showed so much weakness. Seems like a decent run out for him to utilize a bluff on. Sneaking suspicion that I cannot check what he had as well, because he wasn't first to show. Let me see if I'm correct. Let's go check. Couple of folds. Yeah, he just had no pair. He just took a wild stab on the flop, hoping to take it down. Kind of surprised there. Like I said, it just feels like if he's going to bluff that flop, I feel like he should probably be bluffing the turn not necessarily the turn, but definitely the river. Like when we check to him 3 times, it's really hard for us to have like a particularly happy hand that we want to, you know, play a big pot with. So it seems like a decent river card for to roll off to have a stab at, but he elected not to, which we're happy about because it would have put us in a really grim spot, and if I'm being brutally honest, it probably would have worked. I quite like the two tabling for videos. I think it's a lot more chilled, and you really get to hone in on spots a lot more, go into a bit more detail, which I quite like. Like I know in the past, like I've started doing this. The last few videos I've just done 2, and I've gotten positive feedback from them, which is quite nice. And I find when you're doing kind of 3 to 4 video, while I'm very comfortably able to play that amount of tables, it's very difficult to keep up and talk about them all. So even like, you know, pots where you see big pots brewing and you're not involved, it's kind of fun to be able to kind of comment on them and talk about what you think people will show up with and so on when that arises. Obviously any hand that you're involved with will always take precedence, but it's just kind of cool that you get to do that, whereas when you're playing kind of 3 to 4 tables, you can't really keep up with everything that's going on at all the tables all the time, which makes it a bit dicier. Jack 3 suited, we are going to fold. Ace-7 versus a mid position open, we are also going to fold. 10 deuce, we are happy to go ahead and give the walk, as much as we despise giving the big blind walks. 10 deuce will be one of the hands that we do it with. King 8 suited though, we will bring it in for an open, and potentially would have used as a 3-bet bluff here versus player 1 if they had elected to open. We get 3-bet incredibly small, we're not going anywhere. Fun-ish flop. We have the open ender here, and obviously the queen. Well, if we didn't have the king to go along with it, wouldn't be an amazing open ender. But with the king, when the queen rolls off, gives us the higher end. It's pretty nice. The min bet here is just wild. Potentially should have raised it, actually. Potentially should have raised it. We can safely conclude that this player is not a particularly good player. I mean, I don't expect to ever be good here, but we are calling really just to see what he's taking this line with. I'm kind of curious. Ace King, like, I mean, that's just wild. I guess maybe he's just betting to try to induce bluff out of us, potentially, but my guess is he is just a bit clueless and clicking buttons and not really thinking about what he's doing at any sort of decent levels. So yeah, we're okay with that. We played that hand, we're fine with it. Good thing the queen didn't roll off. The queen would have been a bit of a disaster for us. We wouldn't have liked that, because we probably wouldn't have been able to get away with any chips. Although if he's the kind of, if he's just min betting and stuff there, maybe he would do something similar with straights, which would be, I'm not saying that's what you should be doing, but any player that min bets, you never really know what kind of hands they're going to be min betting with. Like I've seen people just min betting, like, you know, flop trips and stuff like that, just trying to eke out that extra couple of big blinds out of you, when really they should just be betting bigger. And like the amount of times that I've seen people just min bet with the best hand, that like is quite clearly the best hand. And like, I mean, usually I call down light against min bets, I definitely do, and there are cases where you end up getting more money out of, again, a reasonable number of cases where you get more money out of me by taking that line rather than betting bigger. But the times that you do get paid when you bet bigger against me, it just like overwhelmingly counteract the extra couple of big blinds that you get here and there when I do call down really light. Like there's a perfect example there. Like when I just call there on the river, I call with king high, not expecting to ever really be good, but just to see what he has, so I have can make decent decisions against him in the future. And you know, we're getting like 25 to 1, so it's kind of hard to ever fold getting 25 to 1. But so there he made an extra big blind more than he would have if he had bet large. But like, you know, most of the hands that I'm going to be calling with will have showdown value that, you know, might call more. So he should be betting more, basically, is what I'm getting at. So we have the overpair, we have the flush draw to go along with it, which is quite nice. It's not an amazing flush draw, obviously, but we'll see how it goes. We take it down without a fight. So we are coming-ish to the end of this video. We've got another sort of 7-8 minutes roughly to go. We will see if we can have a few more fun hands before now. Obviously we don't really have much control over that though. 10 deuce, not a great way to start it off. Not many times we're going to get to see a flop here. Ace 4. Let's go ahead and 3-bet this one. Those baby ace-x that can flop wheels. They have the ace blocker, obviously, which is quite nice, versus a button open, which is going to be opening quite wide, got a decent amount of fold equity. And, you know, ace 4 didn't exactly play amazingly well, especially out of position, so just flatting, while it is going to be profitable, it's not going to be, you know, amazing. Using the 3-bet and leveraging that extra fold equity you get is a much more favourable outcome. Or favourable prospect, should I say. Getting the fold is the favourable outcome. Easy open here at the king 5, and easy open here at the king 9 as well. I have to say, I know I commented on this in part 1, but I just love the speed of this software. I love that you just, bang, there's your hand. Because, like, as I said, I know it's not like taking, like, if a hand takes, let's say, a half a second to deal rather than, you know, 100th of a second. It's not like it's kind of like, you're not going to notice it immediately or anything close to it, but like the amount of hands that you get in per table per hour is definitely going to be higher. And if you're playing like, you know, 4 to 6 tables, which I often do, just not having that extra half second, it just adds up. You know what I mean? If you play like 1,000 hands, that's 500 extra seconds. Did I do math right there? Yeah, I did. So it's just kind of, how did this get all in? Can I ask? How did this happen? How would my 3 high flush have taken it down? Ridiculous. But seriously, how did that happen? Let's go back and have a look. So pocket kings opened, pretty standard. Presto blaster 3-bet, reasonably standard, and just wow, yeah, it was just a pretty, like, just 4-bet, 5-bet jam, pretty crazy. I can think of much better candidates than the ace-9 suited that you want to be doing that with versus an early position open that's 4-betting you. Much better candidate. Well, I mean, in general, just don't have don't have bluff ranges there. When if you 3-bet, that's fine. When you get 4-bet though, just give them credit. Like, people don't really tend to 4-bet bluff, especially from early position. So obviously that's not to say it never happens, and I know I hate any time someone says, well, they just never have bluffs here. They can't do it. It's not possible. Like, of course it's always possible. You see people do dumb things, but it's gonna be rare. We're gonna check back one more street here, and then we're just gonna bet the river. Can't really bet big here. There's not many hands he can call with that. Did we get called? Did we get called? I think we did. Nice. But again, we won't be able to see what he called with, unfortunately. But we'll take it. We will take it. Flush draw, never fun here. This guy is just an absolute munter. What is going on here? What is going on here? I'm gonna have to check how this hand played out, because this is good information. This guy is good to have at your table. So he raised, he gets 3-bet, oh my god. So he raises to, let's just go back and slow this down. 2-3 is gonna be a fold. Raises to 50 cent. I mean, it's loose, but whatever. Then he gets like raised 3-bet to €2. He re-raises to 425. Gets clicked back on, and then he just jams it in. Right? Okay. So this guy is pretty crazy. Great to know. 10 queen suited. We are probably going to see a flop here. In more cases than not, we will see a flop. And let's see if Presto Blaster wants to blast off some more. I mean, if anyone has been paying any attention at the table, just bluffing this guy just seems like not something you ever want to do, right? And here's the thing, if we get 3-bet here at the ace-10, do we just want to go with it for value? I mean, I guess 200 big blinds deep, nah, but I don't know, we're certainly not going to be folding into him anyway. That much is for sure. This guy 3-bets us instead, which isn't as amazing, but we'll still call. We're going to start betting for value here with the queen and the 10. Try to get called by like 7s, 8s, stuff like that. With the backdoor flush draw and the gutter butter to the nuts, we are going to see a turn. This is a good card. It'll slow him down with his like aces, king X and stuff like that, which is quite nice. And occasionally we just win, but it's not going to be common. Potentially should be bluffing here, but just as I said, he can have hands like ace king, he can have he can have aces, he can have king queen, stuff like that that aren't planning on folding here. This is a really, really bizarre bet. Like, this is crazy. What the hell does this guy have that is like wants to pot here ever? Like, my assumption is he just bets his jack X. Ugh. I almost wanted to call there. It seems like that'd be a pretty wild call down, but it just, nothing makes sense there when he just pots that river. Nothing. It's crazy. Maybe pocket 7s, like, I guess, but I am skeptical of that wager, sir. I am skeptical. Like, up until that point, I was like, right, okay, I guess we lose here a decent chunk, but I wanted to see extra cards. I wanted to try to get there and use arm play odds to win a decent sized pot. But that pot size bet on that river, no, I don't believe you. But would have been an expensive, costly reason to find out. King 8 suited, we will be playing in a variety of different scenarios. As long as there's no raise here, we will flick it in. Not our flop though. Not our flop at all. And we are really coming to the end of this video now, so we've got about 1 more minute to go. As always, if anyone has any questions, queries, comments, anything at all about any of the hands that we've played, feel free to fire them at me. I always do my best to monitor the videos, at least for the first while after they go up, and then check them periodically then down the road as well. And I always do my best to answer, so if you've got any questions, fire them at me on either YouTube or on PokerVIP, wherever you are watching it. 10-6 suited, we will let it go. So we'll be able to probably play like maybe 1 more hand on each table. 8-10 suited, unfortunately, is going to be it over here. Queen 6 suited, if it's folded to us, we will open. If this guy raises, I'm kind of like, this is not going to be a normal call for me by any stretch, but versus this particular player this deep, I think we want to call. He strikes me as someone who is not very good and who could potentially blast off in spots that he just shouldn't. So seems reasonable. I misclicked up here. I almost bet like massively there. We are going to bet here because there are a lot of cards that we don't want to see. Alright guys, and that's going to be me. Thank you very much for tuning in, and if you, as I said, any questions, queries, fire them at me. I will get back to you, and until then, we will chat to you the next time. Take it easy.